Hello, citizens. It's been a while. Welcome to a very special episode of the Pow Bang podcast. I am your host, the Panel Protector, and I am here with my co-host. Nice. And we have two very special guests with us today. First, he is our editor. He's been our editor for most of our projects within the last year. And he's also an honorary member of the Pow Bang podcast and a good friend of ours. TK Trevor, aka the engineer, as we called him from the MCU bracket special. And right over here is a good friend of mine, Spider-Man and video game connoisseur, and hopefully a good friend of the show. Hopefully we have him on some more. Jacob Delamata. Probably shouldn't have his last name, but oh well.
Hey, you just doxed me live. Can't believe this. I'm out of here.
See you later.
Well, welcome to our flock.
Yeah.
So, it's been a while, but we have been wanting to talk about this very special movie for a while. It's not only just very special to us, obviously it's number 6 at the worldwide box office right now. It is huge. We have been talking about this, all of us. We did some math, and between the all of us, we've both seen it 4 times. TK has seen it 5 times, and Lord of Shadows has seen it 10 times. So between all of us, it's been a total of 23 times. So we
make up about half of the money they made from it, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we made up all the box office. We made up half the box office, essentially.
Let's just say we are very favorable customers.
Exactly.
For sure.
I also, major warning, obviously everybody sees my t-shirt, but we're going to be talking some major spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, what the heck are you doing?
What the heck are you doing?
Just please go.
What? I mean,
go watch the movie.
We just talked to someone at the gas station who didn't see it.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, I like your mask. I was wearing a Spider-Man mask. They haven't seen it.
No, I mean,
go see this movie.
Go see this like 4 more. Go see this like 10 times and then come back.
What the fuck?
What the fuck you guys are waiting for? Get the fuck out there and see it yourselves.
Oh, that's right.
What the fuck are you saying here?
Watch this.
This is an unfriendly, family-friendly podcast now because of you.
Exactly. But
you should have known that by far, Protector.
But anyways, so yeah, who wants to talk about like their hype up to this movie? Talk about maybe some personal experience with Spider-Man. Who wants to go first? Like just talking about.
Well, TK hasn't said that much. I think we hand the mic to him for a second.
Yeah, go ahead. So,
the engineer, TK, you're on.
What were your thoughts, like before this movie, going into this, and then coming out of it? I know you have a lot of thoughts. So
okay, so my thoughts going into the movie were, first of all, who else can they actually put in the movie? Like every week over the summer, they dropped another name, and it kind of got me a little concerned because I thought that they were going to overstuff it, which they do have a track record of doing.
Mm-hmm. Especially in the third movie.
Yeah. Well, and in the case of The Amazing Spider-Man, the second movie too.
Yeah.
And yeah. And they so I was kind of worried about all those like names dropping. I wasn't sure how it was going to come together. And then the lead up to it, that's another thing which was a little bit weird for me because the marketing, the figures for it, the Funkos for it were very, very, very few and very, very, very poor. However, the actual movie, really good. Like everything worked and fit. And I still think even though how many weeks ago did we see it now? I guess a month ago or over a month ago now.
Over a month ago, yeah.
But it's still for me one of the best Marvel movies, and probably the best Spider-Man movie for me. I'm just going to add something to what you said earlier. If any of you haven't seen it out there, if you can figure out how to get a hold of any of us, and I'm not giving out any personal information because I don't mean this, we will pay for you to see the movie.
We'll even come with you.
Yes. Yeah, we'll come with you.
Look, I mean, we can pay you guys even if you want to, like, even in checks. Just simply, we'll give you simply money in your hand and go see the bleeding movie. Come on.
Yes, please do. I mean, this is literally has been a once in a lifetime, like
a culmination of decades.
It's a celebration.
A celebration.
Yes. Exactly, a celebration of Spider-Man.
Like this movie for me definitely really, really hit close to home. You grow up watching these characters, and then to see them all together in one place is just beautiful, wonderful to see. Touching on what TK said earlier, like it didn't feel like it was too much. It felt like everything blended well together. Andrew, Toby, the whole multiverse thing, like it was teased lightly in Far From Home, even though it wasn't the case that the multiverse was real. And then they go into this movie. Like they're starting to delve and throw shit at the wall. They don't care anymore. Very exciting.
Exactly. Do you want to talk about your thoughts, like going into it and whatnot? I mean, I know you're a gigantic Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, right. So going into this movie and seeing the actors from previous movies that we've seen in the trailers and everything, it makes you wonder, is Toby and Andrew going to show up?
Yes.
Are they going to show up? And you see the leaks coming out, and you see all the hype talking about this movie, and you're like, no. You're walking in, you're sitting down, you're like, no, there's no way. There's no way. And I left that theater thinking, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, we just watched that. We walked out and we said, we just saw that movie. Me and him were looking at each other like, Peyton, we literally just watched that movie. Unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about, since you two talk, I want to talk about, what I thought. Obviously, I'm wearing this shirt. I've been a Spider-Man fan since age 4. Spider-Man has just been a character, not only I just been enjoyed watching, but just a character that has this emotional, like, attachment to me. Like, we all seen, like, pretty much every Spider-Man movie, and we knew the message of Into the Spider-Verse, anybody can wear the mask, and Spider-Man at its core is just someone who, doesn't have a lot of friends, kind of geeky, and, just gets these powers by chance. And, we all want to be Spider-Man now. And when I first heard about like this giant multiversal concept, with Toby and Andrew, I obviously would have loved to see Toby and Andrew, but I'm like, first, that's never gonna happen. Like, that's too soon.
We always used to talk about wanting this before No Way Home was even in the talks. Whenever Civil War happened, whenever they first showed Spider-Man in the MCU, we were like, wouldn't it be insane if they had a Spider-Verse movie with all 3 Spider-Man?
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I mean, I kind of wanted it at the back of my head, but I'm like, it's going to be too messy. I'd rather them just do a Craven movie, which I hope they do a Spidey versus Craven movie soon. But I mean, as like the hype was going on, I'm like, okay, like go to see my childhood idol, Tobey Maguire, back in screen, and then like have Andrew Garfield back. I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I just wasn't really the biggest fan of those movies. Watching them again, they were great, but after watching it, I'm like Jacob, I'm like, this is a dream. Like, this is an honest, like, I feel like I'm dreaming.
It never feels real. It's still unbelievable to me. We've seen the
Yes.
movie 4 times. You've
Four
seen it 10
times.
times. You've seen it 5 times.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't feel real. Like,
Yeah.
did we just watch that movie?
Did we just watch that movie? But, and also, just a fun little side note, we're, the three of us, me, TK, and Jacob are friends in Pennsylvania. Hometown. Should probably bleep that out, but
I don't think people are gonna come find us.
Yeah, I don't think either. But we waited. We all saw the movie together twice, and we waited 3 hours to get the tickets for this movie. I don't know about you. You told me, Alan, you told me where you are that you didn't even have to wait like to get tickets. You got up like a week in advance.
Yeah, him and Caroline, our other friend, kept me up all night trying to get these damn tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But Alan, sorry.
Enlighten us with what you thought
Yes.
going into the movie. It's your turn to answer the question.
That is, you actually say that in a very proper way, enlightenment, because my thoughts about this movie, like, they are all over the place, and all in a very positive way, very positive. Like, this movie for me was like a dream, like one of the most greatest, legendary, wildest, crazy dreams that like are very unique in their own way, in a very kind of poetic way. I'm trying to describe this movie, but like, you paid to know, because you and I were chatting about it. Like, we made so many theories, so many discussions, like what will happen, who's gonna appear, like the villains, the heroes, Toby and Andrew. Like, we had so many theories, you and I, so many. To be honest, like, you were the only one I actually discussed with all the theories we got, because when it comes to my friends, none of them were interested in all the theories and discussions I had and ideas. None of them were interested. So you were the only one, and I'm glad to share my crazy thoughts. But
Same.
And anyway, and to be honest, I've seen the concept arts, and I was fucking right about Mysterio, and I'm so pissed off they didn't put him in.
Oh, I know. Same. I would have loved like either another like dimension or whatnot. By the way, sorry if I interrupted you, but either another dimension or just like a hologram or something like that. Hopefully we can get him for like a Sinister Six.
I would love to see like a Doctor Strange versus Mysterio fight.
Yeah, like
in
we
the
saw
MCU,
from the concept.
because like you watch the Doctor Strange movies or the scenes he's in, it's so well put together, and especially Mysterio scenes, the ones where like he's in Far From Home, whenever he's going through the school and he's jumping off the building and landing in the concrete, those are legendary. And I would have loved to see a mix of the illusions and then Mysterio or Doctor Strange's actual magic, like, and how that would affect, and see if they could actually trick Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Would have been really cool to see.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
Alex, if you want to continue what you were talking about.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, to start, like, basically, Spider-Man No Way Home for me, and I even talked to one of my friends, actually, who came to see the movie with me the first time. I talked to him that this movie represents everything about Spider-Man that has been shown not simply on the screen, but on the page as well. Like, this movie represents what and who Spider-Man actually is, and how you know, and all the connections we all had, generations from generations, ever since he was created.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
core
sort
of the
of
character.
Exactly. And my experience, I mean, the first time I was introduced to Spider-Man wasn't through comic books. It was actually through Sam Raimi movies and also the 90s Spider-Man, the animated series. That show for me, like, I mean, I love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I mean, I grew up with this man, you know, so I loved him as Spider-Man. Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, no comment. Dr. Octopus, no comment. You know, and, you know, Sandman, no comment. Venom, either way, like, I love them. But the animated series was the source that brought me to the world of Spider-Man and make me want to read comics. So that was actually kind of my origin introduction to Spider-Man. But anyway, go back to the movie. For this movie, like, I had so many praises. Like, the only flaw I can find is that it could have lasted a little bit longer. You know, I wanted to see more, and because you know, but what John Watts brought into this movie, like, from the characters, from the surprises, the twists, the turns, the revelations, the villains, Toby and Andrew, like, it was so great. It was so spectacular. Like, this movie made me laugh, made me giggle, made me geek out, made me scream, made me cry dramatically.
Very like, movie, definitely, for sure.
Not to mention one of my most emotional scenes that I literally cried as I was on. There was a moment in this movie that made me so much cry, like I was at the funeral, like the Uncle Ben scene when all three of them were together. That scene was so powerful, it hit me like I was gonna have a heart attack. Like, it hit me. But also, like, seeing all these old faces, and when I say old faces, I mean the villains together, like, all these different Spider-Man movies, from Tobey Maguire to Andrew Garfield. Like, it was just simply great. And also, this movie made you fall in love with Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin even more, because in this movie, like, they made him one of the most evil, sadistic psychopaths in the MCU, and not to mention his holy crusade to turn Spider-Man bad. If I have to, you know, just like, for example, Joker with Batman. You know,
right, yeah,
I mean,
they did. They made you feel like they felt you. They made you empathize, like, feel empathy toward William Dafoe's character, Green Goblin, like Norman Osborn. They made you like. I know the same sort of thing happens in the Tobey Maguire movies, but like, you really feel more connect. I feel like these movies made you feel more connected to the villains, especially because it delved into how to cure them and to make them have a normal life and to make them finally happy, you know?
Yeah, and also, going back to the Green Goblin, then I will go up to the other characters. Like, going back to the Green Goblin, I mean, in Tobey Maguire movie, he was just simply evil. He actually didn't have an actual goal. But in this one, the reason why it made him so much more powerful as a character is the goal they gave him. This mission, you know, like, or how, if I have to quote him, holy moral mission, you know, they gave him. And also, like, the interactions they had with Peter Parker. I mean, if I have to quote him, like, for example, when they were fighting and he was saying, like, strong enough to have it all, too weak to take it. Or even like when he was like facing Aunt May and he was like going like, you know, Norman was right. He got it from you, that pathetic sickness. You know, you tried to fix me. Now I'm going to fix you. And he meant Peter, not Aunt May. He meant him. And I love, like, when he was like, no good deed goes unpunished. You can thank me later. And the last part that really got me so giddy was when he was like, too weak to send me home to die. And he's like, no, I just want to kill you myself. And he's like,
boy.
Yeah. That scene at the
William Dafoe, you go.
I'll let you go after. That scene at the Empire, Statue of Liberty, with the Captain America shield, it was so raw. It was just flat out raw.
I'm curious to see how many takes they took on that scene.
Oh, I know.
The one where they're standing on the shield and they're fighting, because the choreography and the fact that William Defoe did his own stunts for this movie
Exactly.
just made it
Yeah,
even more raw, you know? Like
how old is Willem
how
Dafoe?
old is he? He's like
65,
yeah.
66.
He's like 60.
66.
Yeah.
66 years old.
And he said, I'm not doing this movie unless I get to do my own stunts. That's what he said.
That is a class act actor.
That is
a class act actor.
Like,
but not only that, like he did in No Way Home. He did his stunts in No Way Home, but he also did it in the 2002 movie.
Right.
His own stunts.
Right. What,
and I love that. Like,
that's a 20-year difference. He did his own stunts for 20 years.
I know. I mean, it was crazy, especially when I saw the interview when he was explaining like why he wanted to do it, and I'm like, I mean, can we give this guy some applauses, like gigantic applauses, because he is 66 years old and he did all of those stunts. Like,
get this man an award.
Like, exactly, give this man an award. Like,
seriously.
And also, I mean, okay, can we all just admit that Sandman and the Lizard go a little bit aside?
Yeah,
they were kind of pushed aside a little bit.
They were definitely not the main. They were definitely not the main antagonists of this movie.
I mean, it was a good welcome. I mean, I gladly welcome them back. And
I feel like if they weren't there, though, it still would have been a good movie, but it wouldn't have felt as impactful if they only had 3 villains to cure.
Lizard was entertaining to have back because Lizard didn't really change. Nope. I mean, none of the villains really changed, but it's kind of funny to see Lizard because everybody knows that Lizard's plan in the first Amazing Spider-Man was very bonkers. Just very like even everybody in the movie was like, you tried to turn the entire city into army of lizards?
Yeah, that interaction between Electro and Lizard where he goes, let me guess, to a lizard, and he goes, exactly, like that made me cringe a little bit, but like it was funny. It was kind of funny.
It was funny, and like honestly, I'm okay with like super villains just being evil super villains. Like especially like that. Like they know that their plans are just bonkers, but I mean it's entertaining.
To turn everyone into a lizardinator.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, I just want to say that, like, even though they're like, we had like all 5 of them, you know, I mean, Dr. Octopus technically wasn't exactly a villain. He was basically, I mean, he turned villain in the second movie just because, you know, the microchip being fried, you know, in his brain, and basically, you know, let the tentacles control him. So he was kind of more like a guy with like, you know, anger issues, basically, you know, because of all the voices he heard in his head. And when basically Peter put all that big chip on his in his head, I'm like, you know, when he was like, there are no more voices, so silent. I'm like, that was like a little bit emotional to me because like Dr. Octopus is now back as Otto Octavius. You know, I love that, you know. So, I mean, Electro and Green Goblin were like more villains than him because, you know, he was technically never a villain, more like a tragic character.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with Sandman. I mean, obviously, you know, kind of accidentally killed Uncle Ben, but at the same time, like
Toby forgives him all the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
He wanted to save him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean also like, I mean, okay, I mean we could talk about the villains the whole time, but sorry, I was just trying to say that.
I was just gonna say, like, I talked about Tobey Maguire's Peter as Toby. So like I'm referring to him as Toby, but we should start talking to them as like Peter 2 and Peter 3.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene when they were all 3 of them together in the lab and they were like, Peter, yes, and like all 3 of them together answered. And I'm like, no, I mean this. I mean, I love that scene. Oh my god! And
Peter
also, I mean,
Parker.
Come on. I mean, also, I mean,
we're
come
all
on.
the same person. We have the same name.
I want to hear TK's thoughts on the villains.
Well, I like the villains, but I was a little bit, Peyton, you're gonna probably.
Hey, one second. I need to pause this.
Okay, so the villains, I liked them all. I thought they were good, and I thought I'm glad they brought Electro Black. I'm glad they brought Electro back.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm glad that one of the first things I said after the movie is thank God he wasn't fucking blue.
Yeah.
He got his body back.
I was disappointed though that Ned didn't become the Hobgoblin.
Me too.
I kind of wanted that.
I know.
I'm torn.
I know. Even I wanted that. Even I wanted to see the Hobgoblin.
That would have been so cool. But that does lead to one complaint with the movie. And this is a complaint with all the Spider-Man movies. My biggest complaint about this movie and all the Spider-Man movies is Jacob Batalon's damn wig.
So I guess we are talking about the villains in a way.
Yeah. If he become the Hobgoblin, he would have gone bald, and that would have been the best thing he could have done.
The wig is the true supervillain of this movie.
He's the true sixth member of the Sinister Six.
The wig.
Yeah.
The wig.
All the conspiracies were true.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Jacob Batalon, though. I mean, I'd like to see him come back and go Hobgoblin. And I think
there's a chance it could happen.
I feel like that's more of a fifth movie type of thing. I think they might lead up to it in like a fourth Tom Holland movie. Like it might hint toward it in like coming into the end of the movie, and then the fifth movie. I think this next movie is going to be about the symbiote and Tom Holland.
That could be
because they left it to be desired in the credits. You know.
Yeah, because what I feel like is with how he said he would come back and find Ned and MJ, and then at the end he kind of like didn't really go up and talk to Ned or anything. I think that's going back. I think that's going to come back to bite him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we've seen like so many different versions of the Green Goblin. So I mean, I can kind of definitely see the reason why Kevin Feige, you know, instead of bringing the Green Goblin in, because he said it before that he didn't want to use these supervillains, you know, back without returning with the original actors. You know, like that's why one of the reasons he didn't want to use those, you know, well-known villains, you know, and also it kind of makes sense, you know, that he wants to go with a Hobgoblin instead of a Green Goblin, you know, like give other flying goblins, you know, a chance in a way, you know. So I could definitely see, you know, the Ned becoming Hobgoblin, and also he's losing weight. A lot of people don't know that, but he's also losing weight. So it could happen.
That's the other thing with Ned and the Hobgoblin is, and I don't know if I was the only one who picked up on it, but in the earlier parts of the movie, he seems a lot more like a third wheel.
Yeah, he's like fresh start.
Yeah, and he seems and like as the movie goes on, he sort of blends more in. But so I wonder if they started to write him more as a third wheel, and they were going down that road, but they decided to like veer off it for whatever reason.
Yeah, they made it like toward the end of the movie, Ned and MJ are very close friends by the end of No Way Home, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Obviously, they don't have the memory of Peter, so I mean, I don't even know how they would explain that now. But
yeah.
Like, and also, I mean, I just want to mention
without Peter, MJ and Ned aren't friends.
Yeah, true.
Like, they didn't meet because of Spider-Man. They met because of Ned. So, like, is the memories?
Well, they knew each other since they probably knew each other since kindergarten. I mean, obviously, they all went to Midtown High for almost 40 years. So,
yeah, it's just I'm very keen to find out how they use them as characters now. I'm wondering if Peter is even gonna, like, I'm wondering if Zendaya and Jacob are even gonna return in the next Spider-Man movies. Like, are they just gonna bring back Tom? Are they just gonna use him, or are they gonna like say, oh, he's just a loner now? It's just Spider-Man. It's just who he is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think they might, like, in the next movie. I did want to talk about our thoughts with a new Spider-Man trilogy, maybe even another episode. But maybe they could probably do another supporting cast, like they can bring in Gwen Stacy, Harry Osborn, and whatnot.
That's what I thought. Yeah, instead of like going back to MJ, this way they can bring in, like I said, new characters like Gwen Stacy, like just like you said. That's exactly what I thought as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Peter will commute to another multiverse.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I would like to see the Spider-Verse take more of a bigger role.
Norman offered him a job.
Yeah, exactly. I did want to mention one big thing that I wanted to talk about within this podcast. We obviously have Toby and Andrew come back into this movie, but at the core of this movie, it's Tom's movie. It is Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie. This has been not only it's been the culmination of the other movies, but this movie is kind of an origin story for Tom's Spider-Man. And obviously, in my opinion, Tom has been one of the best newer actors within the last decade. So to have him like in this role, kind of, start off from kind of like a very anxious, very, excited kid, who obviously has his spider powers, to slowly becoming Spider-Man and becoming that character we know from the comics. Like it's been amazing, and it makes me appreciate the other two movies even more, because everybody's like, oh, well, this Spider-Man is just Iron Man Jr. I'm like, I thought that at first, and I'm like, nah. I mean, obviously, like the Spider-Man, has a lot of help from Tony Stark, but even if he didn't, he would still have the same journey. He would still have a pretty similar journey. So that's what I like about it, is that, he obviously has some help, but at the same time, he's still very capable on his own.
Yeah, and also, can we just simply appreciate and admit that this movie, basically gave us one of the best performances of Tom Holland ever seen as Spider-Man?
Absolutely. It was like, towards the end, it got raw and emotional with Holland, and he did a great job. He did a great job.
Yeah, not to mention, oh my God, Aunt May's death. Like that, I believe that hit all of us four